With Chainsaw Man chapter 185, we pick up where the last chapter left off, and it's Fujimoto once again highlighting a truth about Denji that we all should have seen coming, which is that he's such of a buffoon that he's actually brilliant. However, it's because of how absent and simple-minded that Denji has been in the past that he's been able to consistently do what he did in this chapter, which is cause his enemies to underestimate him. And this, of course, has led to Denji being able to put his plan into place in order to escape, something that the aging devil was convinced was utterly impossible. Yet, as we'll see, when it comes to Denji, nothing impossible is ever truly impossible. We open up the chapter where the last one left off with the aging devil skeptical about Denji being able to escape, with her saying that she didn't build a method for escaping out of this world. It's basically her telling Denji that what he's suggesting, it isn't possible. Instead, it is improbable that Denji should be able to do the one thing that so many people before him have failed to do, which is escape. She even goes on to say that as far as the trees are concerned, they were all humans. Some of them have been there for thousands of years, and when they reached a certain point, they all transformed into trees. It was something inevitable. She calls it an innate mechanism of humanity, of humans themselves. When they reach a certain thought process, they turn into the tree, and it's a pretty cool callback in a reverse fashion to one of the stories that you get in Buddhism, which is how one of the monks, they sat under this tree and they're meditating, and eventually they reached a point of enlightenment, which would be what these trees are symbolizing in a twisted way, twisted due to the workings of how the world was created by the aging devil. And what happens when people do reach that enlightenment, they turn into the trees, whereas in Buddhism you basically ascend. The aging devil says that it was her hopes that as humans grow older, they tap into concepts and thought processes that they never would have considered, because obviously humans, they only have a finite amount of time that they can live. You'll never know every secret there is in the world. You won't ever be able to do every single thing that is that you desire, because new experiences that you undergo, they unlock new desires to seek out extensions of those experiences. There's a reason why it's called manifest destiny. You basically try to explore as far as the eye itself can see. Like for instance, say you go to a restaurant, you might try every single food on the menu at that restaurant, but eventually there's going to be new items that are added that you're going to want to experience as well. There will always be another path for you to take. As humans, we aren't truly ever satisfied. We always want more. And the aging devil, in a very perverse way, is telling us as much here. You get time in this world, but time in this world comes at a cost. The cost itself is you become a tree. That makes for the beautiful transition to the aging devil sitting on top of the Japanese leader who made that deal to take the lives of thousands of innocent kids for the sake of living longer. And it's a nice callback. He's being sat on like a chair in the same way that Denji was being sat on like a chair in early part 2 of Chainsaw Man, but we have different circumstances here. Denji was doing it out of selflessness because he was doing whatever he could to get money for Nayuta, the young girl who he is raising. This guy, he's basically doing it for selfish reasons. He wants to live longer. While you could argue it's because he thinks it's what's best for Japan, I'd argue that as a human, as you start getting closer towards the end of your natural life, you know it is coming. And so it is your duty to pass on your knowledge and want to prepare the next generation for the challenges that they'll be facing when you are no longer here. Or rather, that's how it should be. But as we see in our own world, we have politicians in their 70s being elected to office because they don't want to let go of the power they have. They believe that they know best, but they also cling on to the power and they don't want to give it to the next generation to give them a chance to shape the world that they will ultimately have to live in. And it's because the older generation, as they have in years past and will continue to do, they think they know what is better than the younger generation themselves. This is why the aging devil takes the approach that she does with Denji and why she's written in the way that she is. She basically tells him, what can someone like you, a boy who hasn't even lived for 20 years, do that people older and wiser than you were never able to do? Yeah, that's the thing that she's missing. She's using Denji's youth against him, and it's because she's speaking to Denji, someone who has been underestimated and not taken seriously by so many people so much in this series that oftentimes it's because he's been a blatant idiot. Thing is that he ends up being the guy who ends up pulling fast ones on people like Makima, like he did in the past. Because while he is dumb, even the dumbest person, someone like Denji, even they can be observant when you least expect. The moment that Denji realized that his stomach wasn't here in this world, he began working out like a crazed madman to make himself hungry, and while all this is going on, Mitaka has been making a weapon for him to use. At this point, you should see where this is going. Denji is forcing himself to burn off so much energy that it's made him hungry enough that he will eat anything, and now that he's got the axe that Mitaka made for him, Denji is going right to business with this plan to escape, and the aging devil doesn't see it coming because, again, it is so simple, it is brilliant. So he swings that sword at the tree that was made when one of the humans transformed into it, however long ago that was, and when he gets told it's a tree that he's hacking away at that's really a human, and he knows that Mitaka is making the baffled expression at him with the axe because by the naked eye it looks like he's trying to kill a human, when in reality he's just inflicting a ton of pain on them. He's not killing them due to the way that this world works. So despite this, Denji just coldly states that he knows, and he just continues to hack away with it with this axe, ignoring the blood and the guts that are flying out as he does so, because Denji is being written right now to showcase a very cruel side of humanity. So when it comes to human beings and surviving, and in this case escaping an apex predator like the primal devil that is called the aging devil, Denji is doing what any human being would do. He's escaping by any means necessary, even if it means eating a few intestines if he has to, which makes Mitaka look like she's about to puke while also being simultaneously shocked. Yet this is where the sheer simple nature of Denji's character really comes into play here and really makes you look at this like this is a brilliant move. Disgusting, but brilliant nevertheless. By eating intestines, which were soaked in blood, he's also healing Pochita in the real world since they are connected, which allows him to now pull that ripcord, and it puts Pochita back at full strength. They can leave the rest in Pochita's hands right now and have Pochita track down the aging devil, who is with public safety, and kill the aging devil. What's also fitting here is that this is not the first time in series that Denji has had to eat another human being either. The first one that he ate was Makima, who, like the aging devil, underestimated Denji to her detriment, and the narrative is making you think that the aging devil might have very well signed its own death warrant by essentially forcing Denji to do the one thing that he has never done throughout the entirety of Chainsman Part 2, which is face his trauma, his grief, his depression from the end of Part 1 after everything that has happened. And now that Denji has gone into the inmost cave portion of his hero's journey, which, if you don't know what the hero's journey is, it's a book by Joseph Campbell. Highly recommend reading it if you want to learn more about writing for a protagonist and the ups and downs. Right now, Denji is in his inmost cave, and the aging devil has essentially forced Denji to come out of that with a more solidified purpose in his life. And most importantly, it's a way for Denji to understand that even though he and Pochita are not physically together right now because they're in other worlds per se, the fact that Denji is so afraid of going back to a normal life and is afraid of losing those who he gets cared for, the person who was with him the entire time, Pochita, is a person he's having to lean on right now. It's a great full circle moment for Denji's character that is setting us up for a preparation for him eventually taking that next step in his maturation process. Thankfully, we won't have to wait too long for the next chapter. It'll be another 2 weeks before we get it. But in the meantime, check out these other Chainsman videos here on the channel.